Hello and welcome to the Business Success Show with your host, Mac Attram, the business coach. And today you want to stay tuned. Why? If you've ever asked yourself, what should I price this product at? What should I price this service at? I'm not sure what I should charge. I'm not too clear what my clients would pay. Well, you need to stay tuned because today we have brought an expert on the subject of pricing. His name is Sjofors. Sjofors. Let me get that right.
You
And
got that right.
I got it right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as the price whisperer. Right. This is the expert who does all things. He's a thought leader around the world when it comes to all things pricing. Welcome to the Business Success Show.
Thank you so much, Mark. And I'm Mac. Sorry, and I'm happy to be here. And I hope we're going to have an informational and entertaining conversation for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this myself. And let's get straight into it then, right?
Yeah.
How did you get to be known as the price whisperer?
Well, the story is that I'm Swedish from start, as some people can figure out from my name. But I ran a couple of companies in Europe, one out of Zurich in Switzerland and one out of London. And then I moved here to the US, and I'm in Los Angeles, and I joined a public company to establish and build a division. And since then, I had another 4 CEO jobs, and typically growing companies from either zero or very close to zero to anywhere between 25 to $100 million. And in these companies, we did experiments with pricing. And some of those were very successful, meaning that next quarter revenues are up 25%. Others were complete duds.
Okay.
and what I had learned in business school and could read about pricing was so academic and theoretical that it was useless. It didn't help us in any way to understand why some of those experiments worked or not. And then 15 years ago, actually, when I decided I was too old and too opinionated to be a hired gun, I set up my own shop, and I thought to myself, what would I have needed in these cases for every pricing experiment to be a success? And so I developed a process, and it's a process that works really every time.
Awesome. Thank you. So
And
yeah, go ahead. You're saying
no,
something.
and I mean, you're right. You started with a question: have you ever thought about how do you set the price? And there is sort of a lot of black art, or people think it's an art or whatever. No, it's not. It's process,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, we're going to find out more about that in a while. So you were involved in companies, running companies in Europe before
Yeah,
you moved to the US, taking startups from zero to 25 million, 100 million at times.
yeah.
Fantastic. And so you got some key lessons about pricing. And so right now, do you work with small businesses or large corporates or a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. We currently we have one client who is they're about $14 billion. One client that is about $400 million. Then we're working with 2 pre-revenue startups,
Mhm.
and one company that is, I think they're in the couple of $1 million range, something in that range.
Right, right. So
So it's all over the place. Yeah, all
it's a
over the
good
place.
range. It's a good
Yeah.
range of companies. What are some, well, let's get it down to 3. What are top 3 mistakes
Mhm.
companies make when it comes to pricing of their products or services?
Well, the first is you look at a competitor. You try to find out what a competitor is pricing at,
Hmm.
and that can work sometimes in if they have prices on the website. But there's 2 problems with this. there's something called pricing power, and pricing power was defined by Warren Buffett, where he said the most important criterion for making an investment in a company is whether it has pricing power. And then he continued to say that, and pricing power is the ability to increase prices without losing sales volume. So if you start by pricing towards a competitor or set the same price as a competitor, that is typically the first step into the commoditization death spiral, because pricing power comes from your ability to differentiate yourself in such a way that that customers are willing to pay higher prices. So you should definitely know your competitors' prices if you can, but you should not use that to be the only reference point for prices. So that's a very common mistake. And even if somebody has prices on the website and so forth, you still don't know what deals they're making. You don't know what the discounts they do, and all that good stuff. So it's not a good data source.
Sure.
The second mistake is simply guessing, right?
Okay.
And let me tell you a story. This is also was an early stage company, and I spoke to the CEO of the SaaS company. They do contract management, and the CEO said, "I've decided that our price is going to be $165 a month per user," right? And then he continued, "But I don't know if that's the right price. Maybe it should have been 99. Maybe it should have been 250. But 165 just felt good." So I can guarantee that is they leave money on the table,
Definitely.
And the third most common mistake is simply use cost. Cost is you should know the cost of your product or service, obviously, but it should not be the base for your prices. And different industries have different rules of thumb when it comes to that sort of uplift, the added margin they add on cost. And some sort of traditional manufacturing industries, they take cost plus 35%,
right,
cost plus 50%. Retail often double their cost. But there are other industries where you take cost times 5, cost times 10,
right.
And the problem with all of these three methods is that it has nothing to do with what customers are willing to pay.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
So the right way to price is always to understand what people are willing to pay, right? And what they're willing to pay for.
Right. Right.
And if you have that information, then every pricing experiment becomes a success,
All right. So, look, what you're saying, I understand, makes sense, and it's very academic. And I want to take it somewhere in a moment. One is, look, they just guess. A lot of people just guess. And two is they look at a competition and they price according to the competition. And they become a commodity. Now, the third one is to cost plus pricing.
Yes.
Now, cost plus pricing, yes, they want to have a margin. So I want to take it this way, which is you're absolutely right. Charge what the marketplace is willing to pay. So for people listening in thinking, okay, so how do I do that then? And I'll give you an example. We have a lot of consultants who listen to this podcast, a lot of experts and coaches, these type of people. And I've heard them say, what should I price my services at? And so someone like that who has spent time getting professionally trained, maybe gone to various workshops and conferences and spent tens of thousands of pounds or dollars even to get themselves to that level of expertise.
Yeah.
And someone wants to hire them and they say, oh, so what should I charge now?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on how they can approach that? Because I know a lot of people will be thinking about that.
Well, there's a friend of mine, and I don't know, I don't know if this is just a story or if this is what he actually do, but he's a he's a one-man band management consultant too, and um, he goes into companies and he says, my hourly rate is $25,000.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And then he continues saying that if I can't give you $250,000 benefit in an hour, we shouldn't work together.
Wow. Okay. That's
All right.
value right there, right?
That is value right there, you know? And again, I don't know if I don't know if this is his story or
Right.
if this is what he actually do. Um, but but maybe some of the audience want to try, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it works.
Maybe.
You don't
Absolutely.
need many people paying you $25,000 an hour
So,
to have a fairly good living, you know?
so what I'm hearing you say with that is, what is your time really worth?
Yes,
Now, if
exactly.
you only wanted to work with 5 clients or work with 10 clients and you want to have a living for the year, what
Hmm.
would you charge those 5 to 10 clients? And if it's going to be 25,000 per client or 5,000 per, very,
Well,
yeah,
one thing to consider is that you want to, if you're a consultant or a coach or whatever similar to that, you want to price by project, not
mm,
by hour. Hourly project, when you do hourly project, not only is it a pain to keep track of hours, and you often end up working many more hours than you think you have to,
absolutely.
and you feel you can't charge for it. And so you want to sell a project, whatever that project may be. Maybe you help with a launch of a new product, or maybe you do a retreat for the executives,
Mm,
or something like that, or you just say that we're going to take this guy and we're going to groom him for the next position, you know, in the company, and and uh, charge by project.
charge my project.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a great, great answer.
and some of those projects are going to be much more profitable than others, but the point is that it's easier, much easier for a company to buy something at a fixed price
You're right.
because you put it in the budget and it's not going to move, right?
Right. Exactly.
Whereas you put something in the budget where you don't know where the end is going to be, it creates sales friction.
It does. You're
Yeah.
right. Fantastic. Great, great answer there. What are some key tangible benefits of having better pricing, would you say, per?
Well, the think about this, that if you can, when you measure willingness to pay, and that can be accurately measured in the marketplace with a kind of online polling that we do in my company. And there's whatever you learned in business school about demand curves and so forth, and price elasticity and so forth, toss it out because it's not true. um, Reality is very different, and the there's if you price yourself too low, the price itself sets an expectation of inferior benefit, right?
Right.
And we've all been there. You know, we hold something in our hands and we say, I kind of really want to buy this, but at this price,
Right.
it's not going to be any good.
Mhm.
And so if you price yourself too low, prices are, you're going to miss out on sales volume. And if you price yourself too high, you're also going to miss out on sales volume. But you will always have higher revenue and it will always be more profitable. So if you know these points where you can have your maximum sales volume and your maximum profitability and your maximum revenues, or turnover, I guess I should say, for your
That's fine.
English audience, um, then you want to. I always recommend people to price for profitability,
Okay.
and the reason is very simple. If you have higher profits, you um, you invest those profits back into company
Yeah.
to become more competitive, to have more product or services, to hire the best people, to increase your marketing spend, and so forth. So if you price for profitability, you really take your company to that next level that we all want to go to,
Got
right?
it. Yeah, absolutely. Go so price for profitability. Now, you mentioned something about sometimes you can price too low or
Yeah.
sometimes too high.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find? Also, you must have a process to help people to find the
Yeah, we
sweet
have
spot.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have a specific process that we use. Like I said, we use a particular kind of online polling and
Okay.
a methodology that we invented, and we have AI software that crunches the data and stuff like that.
Okay.
But the if you're a small consulting firm or a coach or something like that, there is a way you can get a hint of where your prices should be. And what you need to do, or what one of these consultants need to do, is talk to 25 potential customers, right?
Mhm.
Now, these are not prospects, these are not customers.
Right.
These are people that could be customers if they can just, if you were connected, and and you can never sell anything.
No.
But what you do is that you describe your service or your product, and then you ask two questions. The first question is very simple. Now that when you know what I do and the benefit of what I do, um, what price do you think is so low that you don't believe my promise is true?
That's a great question. Wow.
You know, and then the second question is, now when you know what we do and the benefit that we deliver, what price is so high you wouldn't buy it? How good it is, how beneficial it is, that it's out of your budget, out of your realm completely.
Another great question.
And and when you have 25 of these data points, too low and too high, you take the average of those. And for some people, that may take half a year or maybe a year to get the 25 data points. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, um, eh, but um, but then you average those two, and you have a range of where your prices should be.
Wow.
Not lower than
Okay.
the lower, not higher than the higher.
You
Right?
know, yeah, one of the questions I was going to ask you, look, is coming up with the right price an art or a science? And you've just given one way, which is very, yeah, I think is a mathematical, scientific, objective way of looking at it. And
Mm-hmm.
is there an art side of it as well, or is it very much like that, do you think?
It is not art.
Not art.
It is pricing right is all to understand the practical implementation of something called behavioral economics.
Okay.
And behavioral economics, I mean, we what we do in my company is the practical implementation of behavioral economics. And so I'm leaning on three Nobel Prize winners, right? And behavioral economics is all about how we humans do do this. It's our way of making decisions, and particularly purchase decisions.
Okay.
And as a seller, you can affect very very effectively how the likelihood that a buyer is going to buy something, or that the buyer is going to be willing to pay higher prices, more profitable prices,
Wow.
because our decision making as humans are anything but perfect.
No,
you
absolutely.
know
But my understanding, there's a lot of emotion that goes into
that's right.
buying.
All purchase decisions are emotional.
Exactly. And so your model and process takes that into consideration by the
Oh,
sound.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Wow.
absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic.
The the um there, there there's a whole slew of ways in which one can understand how the emotions affect well, you know, the buyer's decision making, essentially, you know. And the problem with many companies, small or large, is that when when you talk to customers or prospects, they will always indicate that your product or service is not as good as the next guy's, and you're too expensive, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just what every buyer does.
Yeah.
And I mean, you do it, I do it, when somebody's trying to sell me something, and if as you as you are being exposed to all of this, especially salespeople, they are being ground down.
Yeah.
They lose confidence in what the company is selling, because they hear this day out and day in that you're not as good as competition and you're overpriced. So part of the exercise that we do is that we create training programs for salespeople called Price Training for Sales, saying this is what you think about your market.
Yeah.
This is what the market thinks about themselves.
Interesting.
And here's a gap. So don't always trust what you hear customers say.
Right. Priceless. I'm going to use that word with you. Priceless. All these golden nuggets were given are priceless.
There's an American term here saying buyer liar.
Buyer liar. What do they mean by that? Buyer liar.
Well, that the buyer is lying.
Right. There you go.
Okay. that and I'm to illustrate this. I mean, I do this sort of story. I mean, imagine that you're on a car dealer lot, and you're about to buy this new car, and they have the model, and you really want it in white for some reason, right? So what do you tell the car salesman? Do you say, oh, if you have it in white, I'll pay you another $2,000? No, you don't.
No.
You say, if you have it in white and you knock another $1,000 off, then I'll buy it.
Yeah. Wow, it's fantastic. Listen, you are listening to the Business Success Show with Per, the Price Whisperer, based in LA, Los Angeles in USA, and Mac Attram, your business coach. Now, make sure you are following this particular channel. Make sure you are subscribed. Leave some comments so we know what you are getting out of this conversation. What are you learning from the expert Per himself? What does it mean to you? How do you price? What have you learned? What are some distinctions you've got from this particular show? Now, Per.
Yes.
For those people who love what you're saying, suddenly have had a realization that, oh, you mean I don't have to charge the same as my competitors? I thought everybody charges the same. I don't have to be a commodity. How do they get hold? How can someone connect with you or get hold of you or work with you?
The best? I recently published a book called The Price Whisperer.
Oh wow, good.
And it's already an Amazon bestseller.
Very good.
And it's going to come up when the statistics are updated on USA Today's and Wall Street Journal's bestseller list as well.
Excellent.
And the best way of finding me is simply do a Google search for The Price Whisperer.
Okay.
I got this wacky name that nobody can spell too, so which is one reason I'm using this moniker. And by the way, I didn't invent it myself. I was called The Price Whisperer so many times that I eventually decided to adopt it. So
it's stuck. Well, it's one way to make sure that it's a brand. It's a great branding name, actually. So well done with that. Well done with that.
Well, I kind of got it from a guy called the Pitch Whisperer. So
perfect.
Yeah.
From the Pitch Whisperer. So he's good with words, and yeah, you can see that. I can see that. Fantastic. Listen, I want to say I'm going to come back to you in a moment, and for any final words you want to share with us that you haven't shared already. And for those of you who are listening in, if you are not already a member of the Business Success Club in Facebook, make sure you do join the Business Success Club in Facebook. Just simply the Business Success Club. That's all it is. Search it. Join with me. You see my picture there, because in that club we talk all things entrepreneurialism, business ownership, small business, and growing your business and giving you wealth tactics, business tactics. Make sure you join there. And if you, as I said, if you're listening in, make sure you follow, you subscribe. Why? Because it makes a difference. Because the more people that see this, the more awesome people we can bring you, like the Price Whisperer Per himself. So over to you, Per. What? Yeah. Any final words you want to add?
Yeah, maybe there's a famous venture capitalist called Mark Andreessen. He was early on in internet and created the first internet browser and stuff like that. And just to paraphrase him, right? He was asked at an investor conference, what is the most valuable advice he can give to especially startup companies? And he said very succinctly, increase your prices.
Wow. Simple. Increase your prices. Right, you heard it from Per. Per, I want to say thank you for being with us here. Increasing your prices means greater profitability for you potentially. So that's why it's so important. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation with Per, the Price Whisperer, because it does make a difference. It's something that hardly anyone talks about, but it makes a massive difference.
Yes,
And Per is the expert around the world on this subject. So thank you for that. Thank you for being on this show.
thank you very much, Mac. And I trust that the audience got some value out of this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they have. And remember to leave a comment. Remember to leave, give us an emoji as well if that's the case, and follow and share what you've learned on this particular show with the Price Whisperer. Again, thank you, Per, and I'll speak to you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.